the word to the wise is, if there's a number on it, in this image, then it's extra credit legal. And I'm gonna have, a number of extra credit screens, this is one of them. So I'll ask some of the extra credits on this screen. And then, I will, now, I don't have this one. Yeah, I do. Okay, so this is the one that is actually in the atlas. But I wanna give you the other one also. Let's see how bad this looks. Yeah, so this produces a big shift in the projector is producing a big shift in contrast. Now I also have one, which I put in, I took this and increased the contrast, so some things would stand out better, will stand out better. But, the projector is almost producing the same thing because of the contrast shift that I have here. Now there's so much of an increase in contrast that a whole bunch of detail over here has dropped out. I'll give you this one on paper, and by Tuesday next week, we should have this projector problem straightened out. So you'll have this one with more contrast, and this one with less contrast. Now, if you look at the one in the atlas, you'll be able to see how much the projector has shifted the contrast. So I'm gonna ask some extra credit questions on this. Not this one, let's see, I'm not going to use this one right now. Then this. Oh, did you find this one before we go on? This is what my high contrast one looks like on paper. The one in the atlas is a low contrast, but the projector is shifting the contrast so much that it makes it look like my high contrast one, which I will hand out on paper. Have you found this?
I believe it's this.
What?
This one?
Well,
16.
does that look
16.
like that?
I mean, that's, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean that?
Yeah.
Oh, that one. Yeah, that's it. Now, do you have a page number on there for the people who have the hard copy?
Yeah, page 16.
Yeah, look at that page, and then take note of that. I will ask some of the extra credit on this, and then I am going to use that other one adjacent, just to the left of this one, for extra credit as well. Let me see what I have this, I'm not using this.
16.
It's just a picture next to it.
This is a very interesting preparation. I'll discuss how this was prepared. We go back over this a second time. So find this also, and if there's a number on it, then it's extra credit legal. So I'll ask some of the extra credit on each of those screens, and then also this one is for extra credit. Now, this is not in the part of the atlas where the skull is covered. This is in the part where the vertebrae are covered. And then these are cervical vertebrae. This is a radiograph, obviously. Now, we're gonna have to go back over this one because, see all of these, there are no numbers on them. So, I will, this is a sin of omission by McMinn and Abrahams. There are things that show perfectly well on which there are no numbers. So I don't want to go over what you have to know on this one right now, but I will point out things that you have to be able to identify for extra credit on which there are no numbers. What are these anyway?
Vertebrae?
They're vertebral bodies. Now, what is found over here? Intervertebral discs. Now, it looks like they're missing, but that's because intervertebral discs are essentially radio-transparent. So it looks like there's nothing there. So if you put down where an intervertebral, people actually do this, where an intervertebral disc was removed from the preparation, that, of course, will be marked
107.
wrong, because the discs are there. That's just that, unlike the bones, which are radio-opaque,
Yeah, 107.
the intervertebral discs are radio-transparent. But this is in a person, who's of which radiography was done. So nobody, cut them open and pulled out his intervertebral discs. They're there. It just looks like they're not there. What's that?
What's what?
Well, let me see what this looks like on screen. Yeah, this is way too dark. Actually, it does show though. That's an intervertebral foramen, you know, for nerves and blood vessels. And then what's this? Let me see if it shows on screen. That's a zygapophyseal joint, you know, a facet joint.
Which one?
They have numbers on some of these spinous processes. So you should also know the bodies and the intervertebral discs and the intervertebral foramina, and I believe that they do have a number on one of these zygapophyseal joints as well. So those are extra credit legal as well. Okay. Then you'll get a handout that has these images of vertebrae on Tuesday next week, and we're going to start going over those as well. You'll have to also know these vertebrae. Okay, so now let's go back. I want to show some things on the fetal skull. So find this. If there's a number on it, you should know it. This is the fetal skull and anterior view. This is from the atlas.
14.
I will ask some questions on fetal skulls, and they will be asked on these articulated fetal skulls. I don't have any disarticulated
14.
fetal skull preparations to use, so I will ask them on these articulated. Now note this incipient suture over here. I think they say frontal suture. I prefer that you use the more accurate term, which is interfrontal suture. That means a suture between the two frontal bones, which we have two frontal bones in the fetal stage, and also immediately after birth, if the two frontal bones are still there. Then in almost everybody, this interfrontal suture forms, then it fuses, and it's completely fused by 2 years of age in almost everybody. And then by 7 years of age, it's almost completely obliterated. In some people, it persists throughout life. I have a skull in my collection which shows an interfrontal suture in a person of a particular age. I don't want to mention which age though, because I want you to try your hand at doing some age diagnosis. So I'll put that out, and using the osteochronology handout, I'm going to ask you to try to just discern what the probable age was. But he was old enough so that that should have been frozen. So you should know the interfrontal suture. Since you're already orbiting in clinical circles, you should know an older term for this one that many clinicians still use, and that is the metopic suture. That's M-E-T-O-P-I-C. M-E-T-O-P-I-C. The metopic suture. Okay. That's M as in Megalosaurus, Megatherium. You know. And E-T-O-P-I-C, the metopic suture. Now, wherever synonyms exist, you can use any existing synonym. But don't use frontal suture because it really isn't accurate enough. Say interfrontal suture, or you can say metopic suture. You can say either one. Okay. Now I have an actual fetal skull, which is from a woman who died on the streets, and her skeleton and her fetus became available to scientific study. She was an anonymous person. And I will show that in class, and then on the physical reality test. And then you should know that this mandible at this stage, and also immediately after birth, still consists of two bones called dentary bones. So at this stage, and shortly after birth, the mandible is actually still two bones. And then over here, the symphysis menti is an actual symphysis, rather than being a region where a symphysis fused and was obliterated. Okay. And I'll point out some other interesting things when we have the actual bones that should know all the fontanelles. So there's the anterior fontanelle. And this is a view from lateral. This is a left lateral view. So here's as much of the anterior fontanelle as you can see in this left lateral view. And here's the left coronal suture. There are two coronal sutures at this stage because there's still an anterior fontanelle in between them. And then here's the anterolateral fontanelle, also called the sphenoid fontanelle. And here's the posterolateral fontanelle, also called the mastoid fontanelle. So you can say mastoid or a posterolateral fontanelle for this one. And you can say anterolateral fontanelle or sphenoid fontanelle for this one on a test. And then there is also the anterior fontanelle is anterior to the sagittal suture. The posterior fontanelle is posterior to the sagittal suture. So here's a view from superior. There's the anterior fontanelle. There's what you can call the interfrontal or metopic suture. Here's an incipient interfrontal or metopic suture. Incipient means the suture hasn't formed yet. These bones are forming a membrane. I'll take interfrontal suture though, but in reality, you see there's no suture there. The suture is an articulation between two bones. It hasn't formed yet. The bones started as pinpoints of ossification. Ossification means bone formation, called focal points of ossification. Then the zone of ossification expands in a membrane. These bones develop in a membrane rather than in cartilage until the bones collide with one another. But at this stage, there's still plenty of membrane there, in which development of bone would have continued if development hadn't been terminated in utero. So here's the incipient sagittal suture. Now here's the anterior fontanelle, which is anterior to the sagittal suture. Posterior to it over here, I need another view to show it though. There's a posterior fontanelle. So those are the four fontanelles. Actually, there's more than that because some of them are bilateral. There's an anterior fontanelle. There's left and right anterolateral fontanelles, which can't be seen in this view. Then there's left and right posterolateral fontanelles. And then there's a posterior fontanelle. That's here. So here's this view from posterior. So here's the sagittal suture, the incipient sagittal suture. Here's the lambdoid, also called the lambdoidal suture. And here, where these two incipient regions of sutural development meet, there is a posterior fontanelle. So that's all of them. And I will ask some of those. I won't ask all of them because it would be too many questions on fontanelles, but I'll ask some of them.